Welcome to A Course in Business Miracles. This is Heather Dominick, creator of BusinessMiracles.com and founder and leader of the highly sensitive entrepreneur movement. Join me today for some genuine practical assistance and a business-altering and life-changing experience, a business miracle. This is A Course in Business Miracles, episode number 13. Instant. Your fear-based mind wants to tell you that you have to wait years or lifetimes to have what you want. Listen to today's episode for why the Way of Miracles shows us how to have it in an instant.
Our theme word for today's training is instant. So, what is this instant about? Well, this speaks first and foremost to the irony of the desire for instant gratification. And I see this a lot, specifically in the coaching industry and in general for entrepreneurs who want to have everything in regards to your business success in place and in place now, as in yesterday. And according to A Course in Miracles, all you need to do is to give God an instant and all can and will be transformed. So, of course, if needed, shifting out word God for anything that speaks to you, universe, goddess, spirit, soul. But the key word truly there is you. All you need is to give God an instant, and all can and will be transformed. I know when I first came across this concept, I was like, wait, what? Really? Wait, you mean I don't have to agonize endlessly about what it is that I want to do or need to do? Wait, what? You mean I don't have to struggle with anxiety and I don't have to process for years and years to figure things? What? I just really couldn't quite get my mind around it. But according to the Course, this is referred to as the holy instant. And what this is primarily about is that inward is sanity and outward is insanity. So for those of us who are highly sensitive entrepreneurs, we are actually beautifully coded to go inward to seek and experience peace. The interesting aspect is that we usually don't. Rather than being committed to connecting in and following our intuition, rather than being committed to sharing what it is that we're guided to share, trusting in what it is that we're guided to share, being in energy of non-resistance, allowing that to support our vision. Other than that, what we usually do is we push through the angst, or we withdraw and we hide. And we tend not to ask for help. And if we do, then what we tend to do is we look outside of ourselves for someone who's louder and more gregarious, and thinking that because they are, that must mean that they have the answer. For the holy instant, the purpose is to suspend judgment entirely, and that includes yourself. Now, you're afraid of this because you believe without the ego, all would be chaos. But I assure you, without the ego, all would be love. And so let me share a little story with you. So a few years back in my business, it was 2008 to be exact, I was at an in-person training at a seminar. And as part of that training, in a moment, I had a strong intuitive hit, and I raised my hand. And in the process of raising my hand, a person also attending the seminar right in front of me raised their hand. And the facilitator called on that person. And that person had a lot of self-drama that they were involved in. And so I put my hand down, which was my tendency at that time. to give over to the person who was louder, more dramatic, and soon after, I realized that my intuitive hit was spot on, and that if I had followed through, I would have had the opportunity to shift an incredible pattern, an unhealthy pattern, an unhelpful pattern that had been with me for a long time. So I was very, very clear in that moment that I had missed something, but not entirely, because I was aware. The following day at the training, I received another opportunity. And this opportunity included that someone was actually going to give me a large amount of money very, very easily. And it was $1,000. And at that time, that was a really, really big deal. And again, it was going to happen very easily, which went against everything that I had set up for myself in regards to past patterns. And in the moment that this was offered to me, I heard so clearly. It was literally like Spirit was coming down straight through the sky, the ceiling, into my head, into my heart, and I heard so clearly, do not listen to me again. Say yes. And in that instant, I followed, and I said yes. And the process of listening to that guidance, saying yes, being willing to receive so easily, went against everything that I had put in place, my HSE rules of protection. It had me risking judgment from what other people would say or think about me if they found out about this. It had me in the experience of saying yes. And it had me viscerally experience everything changing in an instant. And that moment impacted things in my business and in my life with an extreme ripple effect, as these types of moments do. And it really supported my first quantum leap in my business. That moment happened mid-year, around in July. And at that point, I had probably generated about $30,000 or $40,000 in my business up to that point in the year. By the end of the year, in December of that year, in 2008, I had generated $250,000. I had learned in that moment to make decisions differently. I had learned and I experienced the process of releasing my commitment to confusion, which opened up the door for more ease and more trust. See, according to the Course, the past is the ego's chief learning device. For it's in the past that you learned to define your own needs and acquired methods for meeting them on your own terms. And for most of us who are HSEs, what this usually includes is protecting ourselves, not just protecting ourselves from overwhelm, but protecting ourselves from the fear of the thought of even the possibility of being overwhelmed. So we're truly creating a tug-pull, a gas-brake situation. We say, I want this in my business, but in truth, I don't want to change in order to get it. The fear is not of the present, but only of the past and the future. And neither of those exist. We're controlling our present based on past experiences that didn't serve us very well. And as a result, we're changing and dictating our future. The experiences that we're having are making us miserable, but at least we're in control. But the place in our business where we allow this fear to control, where it primarily truly shows up, is in our marketing and in our selling. So afraid that if we enter into a selling conversation with a potential client, what will happen in regards to rejection? What will happen in regards to our feelings of lack of value and worth that were most likely given to us somewhere along the line from long ago. The way through is to love. To love first self, to know that you are a beautiful, vibrant, talented being who was coded specifically to be able to serve as a coach, as a healing practitioner, as a creative. When I worked as a high school drama teacher, being in the teacher's lounge during breaks and lunch was agonizing to the point where I just stopped doing it. It was agonizing because I would sit with all of these teachers who would spend the 42 minutes that we had as a break complaining about their students. And I would sit there and I would think to myself, you do realize that without these students, we would all be out of a job. So instead, when I was in my classroom with my students and in quiet moments, if they were in drama class and working on putting a scene together, or one of the English classes that I would teach and they would be writing, I would look at all of them and this is what I would say. In my mind, I would say, the light in me salutes the light in you. The light in me salutes the light in you. And this created an energy of love. And I'm sure you can imagine and understand my students were quite successful. See, according to the Course, it has taken time to misguide yourself completely. But it takes no time at all to be what you are. So it has taken a lot of time to create ourselves into these balls and in beings of anxiety and worry and fear and frustration and disappointment and concern. But again, according to the Course, it takes no time at all to be what you are, which is a being of love, which is a being of power, which is a being of immense potential and creative force and creative energy, because that is all that we are all here to do and to be. We are here to experience expansion. And for those of us who have been called to be in business for ourselves, our business is our primary vehicle to experience that expansion. It is the vehicle with which, as HSEs, we have the opportunity to reclaim our sense of value. Sending love and forgiveness to those in the past who told us that we were not of value. And not to go into it too much right here, as we will in further trainings in regards to forgiveness, because that one, boy, oh boy, that's had me up against the wall many times. But I remember reading in the Course in forgiveness, in order to forgive, all you have to do is be willing to think the thought, to say the word forgiveness, and the energy is moving. That was a huge relief. And all of this can take place in an instant with the opportunity of decision. So when I was first getting ready to teach the Holy Instant for the first time, I had a dream about the Holy Instant, and I want to share that with you. In my dream, a woman, it seemed to be in a time period of the late 1800s, I was witnessing, but in my dream I had a sense that this woman that I was watching was me. So a woman in the late 1800s was waiting for a train, and she was waiting for a man to arrive on that train. And as she's standing there on the platform, she's grappling with whether to go with him or not. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I remember viscerally so much the angst of the back and forth in the dream. And in the dream, the train comes, and then it goes. It pulls into the station and pulls out, and she is still grappling. And then she realizes, because of her grappling, she didn't even have a chance to see him and to discover what could have happened. She missed the chance. when all she needed to do was to decide in the instant. But she had missed the instant. And in some shape or form, you want to check in with yourself and see, does this resonate for you? This idea of grappling, struggling, being in that space of back and forth. Because this is very common for us as HSEs, that this is where we give our energy. But the instant you refuse to be bound according to the Course, you are not bound. And here's the key. You don't even need to know all of the hows yet. You simply need to be willing to refuse to be bound. And the instant you refuse to be bound, you are not bound. The key then is to remain open to the ways that will be shown to you step by step to experience expansion and freedom from restriction. Awesome. Deep breath in and let it out. And really in this moment, just allow everything that you've received so far from today's daily dose of instant to enter into your mind, your heart, and every cell of being, so that the ideas, insights, and inspiration from today's training call will just naturally ripple out into positive impacts in your business and life. And as you go throughout your business day today, remember to pause, breathe, connect into the energy of today's daily dose. And when faced with a challenge, ask yourself, how can I see this differently? How can I see this differently? And it's interesting. I wanted to share with you that we've been receiving a lot of inquiries and questions. Questions like, Heather, how do I really use my HSE abilities to support me? Heather, how do I stay connected to this community? Heather, how do I really apply business miracles to my marketing or when connecting with prospects? Heather, how do I receive more mentoring and coaching from you? Heather, how can I get transcripts of your teachings? And it is A Course in Business Miracles 6-month group coaching program. Yay! There already is a group of us forming that will be moving forward together and going even deeper and further with our community connection, with Business Miracles content, as well as direct coaching support with applying and implementing all of the teachings and concepts. Remember, it can all change in an instant. The moment you decide you are not bound, constricted or restricted, you are not. The question to set you free from those past restricted ways of acting and being is, how can I? Deep breath in and let it out. And take a moment just to take your hand and just tap your heart 3 times. Awesome.
Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed this episode of A Course in Business Miracles. If you're ready to learn how to use your highly sensitive abilities to support you in being purposeful, profitable, and empowered rather than scattered, poor, and undervalued, take my free self-quiz to find out if you are indeed a highly sensitive entrepreneur. And if you are, along with your quiz results, you'll receive my free HSE Success Guide, which will teach you how to have your highly sensitive abilities working for you to create the results you desire in your business. Take the quiz and receive your free success guide now at www.hsequiz.com.